August is one of the toughest months for bass fishing. Fortunately, there's a consistent cheat code that'll help you locate the depth and cover that bass are using on pretty much any lake across the country. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to use traditional electronics to find bass quickly in August and put a ton of fish in the boat. Let's get into it. You see there's a bunch of fish around this one. You can even see them on 2D. Basically all I'm going to do is use my range ring and heading arrow, call it on my chest camera here. Nice fish. There we go, guys. That's what I'm looking for right there. I'm out here on a small lake in Arkansas to try to find a very specific pattern. And actually there's some fish right there too. Wow, that looks so good. I need to mark all this, but I'll show you what I have going on here. Basically, what I'm looking for are shallow brim beds and anywhere from like 5 to 8 feet of water, but offshore. During the summer, brim are going to spawn during the full moon, and there's multiple cycles of the spawn, and you'll see these little brim beds here on side scan. You can see them right in through here. All these little small circles, these are all brim beds, and then there's isolated pieces of brush in and around those brim beds. And actually you can see there's a few fish right in here as well as some brim, and these might be some bass. And ideally what I want to see, I'm going to kind of get back on here, is I want to try to find some active brim beds that have brim that are spawning around them. And you can see that on side scan where you'll actually see small dots in those brim beds. So we want to try to find that. But in addition, we want to find some type of cover around those brim beds. And this is a pattern that I've seen a lot of pros take advantage of over the years. I've done it a little bit, but I haven't really fully dialed it in. So I'm going to graph around a little bit just to get the day started, see if we can find any of those active brim beds. And then we're gonna start trying to pick some of these fish off. Ooh, look at those brim beds right there. Oh my gosh. There are a pile of them down there. Look at that, right on that break too. I don't really see any brim in and around them or any bass or anything. That just looks really good. And there's some more on the left side of the side scan. There's a bunch of stuff happening in this area right here. I'm just not seeing that many fish. I don't know though. We're gonna take a look here on the full side scan view just to take a look. You can see that there's some shad up here. And then I don't know if these are all brim beds or if that's just something on the bottom. There's definitely brim beds over here. I'm not seeing like any dots or anything around there. There is a little bit of shad. I'll mark this with a brim bed icon just to have that. And what I'm specifically looking for are areas where you can see the brim at least a little bit around these brim beds, not just the brim beds themselves, because you need to obviously have the forage there for the bass to feed on. So even if there's a brim bed there, if there's not brim in the beds, I mean, there's nothing for the bass to feed on. There's no reason for them to be around there. And there's a lot of random isolated pieces of brush and stuff like that that I've actually noticed have a little bit of potential activity around them, like this brush pile right here. You can see there's a few isolated dots. These are actually probably some brim, and then there's that piece of brush. So instead of maybe trying to find the brim beds that have the bluegill or the brim in them, we might need to find the brush piles that have the bluegill and brim around them and then fish those. Definitely finding them though shallower. I think a lot of these shallower brush piles, I've seen a couple now that have a few brim in them. But we're gonna keep looking around because I don't think I've found anything yet that makes me think, man, I definitely have to stop there. There are a few fish actually in this brush pile we just graphed right here. If we zoom in on this thing, there's a fish right here and right there in that. That is a good brush pile. Maybe we just need to be fishing the brush piles themselves. You can see more brim beds on the left side of the side scan popping up right now. I'm not seeing a ton of brim in them though. It's kind of weird. Got him. There we go, out of this brush pile. Finally, good one right here. Took me a few minutes to figure this out. Got this one on a big worm out of a brush pile. I saw a big fish out of a brush pile a second ago. You guys saw that one. I fished all those brim beds and none of them had any fish, but I saw that big fish out of that brush pile in about, I don't know, 10 foot of water. So I knew I graphed another brush pile in 10 foot. Right over here, we graphed it earlier as we were driving around, and that is a beautiful fish.
There are brim around this brush pile too, and it just seems like there has to be a brush pile in about 10 foot of water. Not everyone is gonna have a fish, but that is a really, really healthy one out here. Gorgeous. Let's get back down there. Man, there we go. Finally got number one on the board here. Just got him on a Plum Apple Big Bite Baits B2 10.5 inch worm with a core tackle 5/0 3/8 ounce Ozark rig. This is my favorite rig in August for fishing around brush piles. It comes through brush great and it causes worms to wobble on the fall. You probably have seen a video of it before on this channel. If you haven't before, it is unbelievable under the water. But basically we just have a brush pile right in front of us here. We graphed it earlier as we were kind of looking for brim beds. It's right in that 12 foot of water zone, and I saw a good one swimming around in there. I didn't really call it out talking wise because I've been fishing for a bit now and hadn't gotten any bites. We can even see another good one here, like 50-ish foot, just kind of chilling around these brush piles. This brush pile is so thick that it's going to be kind of hard to see exactly what's going on in it, but we can see at least a couple of fish swimming around through here, and actually looks like there's quite a few. I'm just going to work that bait through that brush pile. You could catch these fish without forward-facing sonar super easily. There's a fish following my bait down. You can see them right now. They're falling to the bottom at 30 foot. A couple of decent fish, not big ones. It seems like these fish are really big on following my bait today. They don't really want to necessarily chomp it unless I think something is falling a little bit faster. So I was throwing that wacky rig and it really wasn't getting the job done. But with this big worm and it kind of wobbling as it falls, I feel like you kind of trigger a reaction bite out of these fish. So I'm gonna make a couple more casts out of this brush pile. We actually graphed another brush pile behind us here a little bit earlier that looked decent, and I think there's a couple more pieces of brush right in front of me here too, so we'll check that out, and then we're probably gonna have to graft for more brush in this depth zone because I think I only have like 3 brush piles marked that are right in this depth zone, kind of what we're looking for. Ooh, some good fish around this brush pile right here. Look at all these fish, several of them. Let's see if any of them actually want to eat my bait. Oh golly, that was a good one right there. He hit that so hard. How did I miss him? Oh my gosh, he took my worm and everything. Oh, that felt like a big one. Same deal, 10 foot of water. We are on it right now, guys. There are a bunch of fish in that pile too. Oh my gosh, how did we miss that fish? He was right there. There are several good ones in that pile. Wow, he took my worm and everything. That's crazy. Okay, another piece of brush here, same depth of water. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed the fish on that last spot. He hit that so hard, my rod was like almost pulled out of my hand, and that was on a worm. So they obviously, when they want this thing, they're gonna get it. There's a bunch of brush in the same depth zone. I just have to find it again. There's one. Oh my gosh, I missed him again. What is happening right now? He hit that thing so hard. Once again, my hook isn't straightening out or anything. They just are biting weird. I need to let them eat a little bit longer. Oh man, okay, let's get back in there. I need to let him eat a little bit longer. I think I'm just setting the hook a little bit too soon. I'm setting it as soon as I feel him. I need to let him eat it just a little bit longer. I don't have hookup issues with the Ozark rig ever either. It actually has a really good hookup ratio, so this is something I'm doing wrong right now. But there are some quality fish around these brush piles. You can see them swimming around up there. Several good ones. There's one. Got him. Okay, I'll let that one eat it. Good one. Okay, I just gotta let these fish just chomp that thing and eat it, and they'll get it. Good fish. Right in that same pile. These fish look a lot better on the active target than the ones we were seeing earlier. I mean, not a big fish, but I mean, just a good one. And I let that thing chomp it and chomp it and chomp it. So that's gonna be what we have to do today. Just let him chomp it. And now we know what the deal is from the depth of water and everything. We just need to be fishing that 10-ish foot of water, maybe out to 12 foot. We can graft more of these brush piles and start going to town. Let's see if we can make it work. So I did mark one more brush pile here as I was grafting around for the brim beds, and it's in about 10 foot of water, and I want to show you how I'd line up on this without forward-facing sonar. Just have the mapping pulled up here. Basically all I'm going to do is use my range ring and heading arrow to get that brush pile icon just within the edge of that range ring. It means that brush pile is about 80 feet out. I then made my cast as I was lined right up on it. I now have a line up on a tree up here where I know I can make that repeated cast after hitting spot lock. And we're just going to see if there's a fish in that brush pile on this worm. This is just as effective, honestly, with this worm as using the forward-facing sonar, other than just to kind of get lined up. And there's one. Oh, come on, he dropped it. He got it again. He dropped it again. He's got it. Oh, no. Golly, he took my worm. He had it. There's a fish in that pile right there. Let me get another worm on. Okay, come on now. These fish are making me look silly here. But anyways, so we're dialing in a pattern now. There's definitely fish in these 10-foot brush piles. And we came out here with the intention of finding those fish on brim beds. And I thought we could find some fish a little bit shallower on those brim beds that were active. But these fish, or at least the better quality fish, are a little bit deeper in that like 10 to 12 foot zone. And there's probably brim beds up here shallower as well. They are probably just out in front of these brush piles, and these bass are probably using these brush piles to kind of set up during the day, is kind of my guess. And then maybe at night they might even get up and roam around on those active brim beds, because there's probably brim all through here. Got one. There's a good one. Oh, this brush pile. It's a real good one. Come on, fish, get over here. Had to let him choke that thing. Nice fish right there. They're all over this brush. That's what I'm talking about. On the Ozark rig, that Ozark rig comes through that brush so well, guys. I haven't had to get hung up a single time, and they are eating it. It gets them right in the top of the mouth when you let them eat it long enough. I feel like these fish pick it up and then they're dropping it or something. It's really weird right now, but that big worm absolutely gets them in the boat. Okay, let's hunt down a few more pieces of brush in 10 foot of water. There should be some right around here from past experience. I don't have them marked, unfortunately, because I delete my waypoints like every month because I have way too many of them. But we should be able to see a little bit of brush through this area, hopefully. I don't know how much of it would still be here. Haven't been out here in a little bit, but hopefully we can see some. Some of the brush is shallower than that too, I know. There we go. There's those brush piles we're looking for. We actually see there's a bunch of fish around this one. You can even see them on 2D. That's crazy. Look at all of them. You can see them like crazy stacked up on 2D sonar in that brush pile. These are all fish right there. It's cool because you can see them on the down scan and the 2D. There's so much to mark there. I'll come back and mark in a second, but you can actually see there's that brush pile. And then with my settings on 2D, you can see those better quality fish right there. We know there's fish in that pile right there. So I'm gonna mark a fish icon, and that's just for my settings. Again, I have sonar settings guides on my website, fishmoment.com, that will kind of filter out that brush and show those fish really clearly, but we can see there's a ton of brush through here. So we're gonna mark all these brush piles, just pick a brush icon and just start going to work. So they're all through here. We're gonna be able to just roll through this area. There's fish in this area, there's bait in this area. It's all going down in here. So we should be able to get some bites right in through here. I don't know how many brush piles are gonna hold fish, but we're just gonna mark it all up. And there's even some way out here. That might be a little bit too deep, but that should be pretty good. That covers it pretty good. Let's just get into position and just start fishing that, because that's a bunch of spots right here to kind of make a few casts at. And let's see if we can keep this pattern rolling and put a few more fish in the boat. There's a few more places I know have brush around here too, so we can just keep graphing and keep catching. That's the plan. I want to run as many as I can, because hopefully we can catch, you know, a half a dozen or a dozen fish doing this. Okay, so we got a bunch of different brush piles right in front of me here, and because I want to really pick these pieces of cover apart, I actually use my power poles. I power pole down in the back in like 6 foot of water, and now I can basically use the forward-facing sonar and look around on all these things and really pick them apart. And I've never been able to do that before. And now that I got the Bass Cat, I'm trying to find ways to take advantage of all the technology. And like right now, I can basically just go brush pile by brush pile and pick it apart like I would if I was pitching grass or laydowns or whatever. We can see a fish right at 40 foot in this brush pile ahead of me here. We know there's a fish right there. So we can make repeated casts now, knowing that the boat's not gonna be drifting. I'm not gonna be getting my prop wash from the trolling motor all over this. And I can see how these fish react to my bait. And hopefully we can get one of them to bite. Maybe experiment with some baits and stuff too, but there's definitely fish in these piles, so we should be able to get at least a couple of them to bite. Here's one. Got him. There we go. It was like, hold it, fish. I had to let that fish swim and swim and swim with it. We got one right here on the old B2 worm and the Ozark rig. Nice fish. Just crazy how long I had to let that fish swim and swim and swim with that worm. There's definitely a bunch of fish down here. Let's get another worm on. Man, well, there we go. Another decent fish. Nothing big today, but I really had to let these fish just eat that worm. And I remember back in the day, I'd watch the best of Larry Nixon, and Larry would talk about his ABCs of worm fishing. He would say, you just got to let him eat it and eat it and eat it. And a lot of times I don't really have to do that with the big worm. You can just kind of set the hook when you feel them. But today, I'm definitely have to let him just like basically swallow that worm. And when I do let them eat it long enough, they are really getting it. So definitely a good deal if I let them eat it. I'm getting them in the top of the mouth, but if I set too soon, I'm missing so many of them. I don't know if they're just kind of getting the tail and then eating the rest later. A little bit confused why they wouldn't just take the whole worm in their mouth, but letting them chew on it is definitely the way to get in the boat today. Okay, there may be a few more fish down here on this pile. My goodness. There he is. Got him. Oh, come on. I need to move a little bit further. Oh, this is a good one too. I need a little bit further up. My reel got caught on my chest camera here. Nice fish. I was a little bit too shallow on him apparently. Really good one on that worm again. He was sitting there just chomping on it and got him. That's 2 fish off that spot at least, which is good. So you can get another one. Okay, time to find some more brush piles here. I did mark a couple more pieces of brush earlier today, but I cannot remember how deep they were. I think this one was a little bit too shallow if I remember correctly, and then this other one might be a little bit too deep. But we'll regraph these really quick just to see, because maybe they're in the right depth zone after all. We had a nice little drop off here that had a few brim beds around it. I'm not really seeing a big brush pile or anything that jumps off the screen, so we'll kind of keep graphing. And one thing I will say, guys, if you're a tournament angler and you want to fish offshore, you need to get comfortable graphing during your fishing tournaments. A lot of times you're going to figure out these patterns during the fishing day, and you're not going to have everything found that you need. You're not going to have every brush pile in 10 foot of water marked. You have to have the confidence that you can go around, graph in that depth zone, and find more brush piles or ledges or rock piles or whatever it is that match your pattern. If you only focus on areas you found in practice or have history on, your chances of catching fish are going to go down a lot because you're basically just limiting yourself at that point. Actually, by the way, this brush pile looks like it's right in the right depth and it's right on a drop off actually. And it actually looks like there's some fish around it, which is all good things. Let's spin around here. I'll show you on full side scan. Zoom in here. Looks like there might be a dot right here. There's a couple of fish just you can kind of see scattered here and here. There's definitely fish on this. I'm gonna mark this with a fish icon just to make sure I know if that's the brush pile. I can't remember what I graphed where, so just to make sure I'm on the right spot. Okay, we're right there. Yeah, it's right on that brush. I marked some other random fish over here that weren't actually fish, but let's get lined up here and see if we can get lined up and get a fish in the boat. Come on, fish. You come eat it, come on. Come on. Come on, come on. Got him. Oh my gosh, there we go on the glide over this brush pile. I wanted to try something different other than that. Oh gosh, nice fish. Other than that worm. Oh, he came off. Ah, dang it, I barely had him hooked. But that was on that clutch eco over this brush pile. That was sick. Oh my gosh. There's so many of them down there too. I can't believe he came off. That sucks. He barely swiped at it and got it. That was a good one too. It was the biggest fish of the day. Let's get back down by some of these fish. Golly, they're on it again. I've never caught them on a glide on this lake. That was so cool. I'm bummed I missed them. I got one to bite it at least though. That's super cool. Basically just working this glide right over these fish. They were setting up on this brush pile. And there's a bunch of them around here. Oh man, that was cool. I cannot believe I missed him though. Let's try to get that bait back out there. Basically, I'm just letting that bait sink down. 50 foot out, it's sinking. I'm gonna lake it down to 10 foot of water and I'm gonna work it right over the top of this brush pile where these fish are. And thing about this glide bait is it has a ton of drawing power, and there's a bunch of fish in this brush pile. They're all schooled up. And they're all suspended, so I thought this would be a better option than that worm. I keep missing them on the worm, so I thought, why wouldn't the glide be a better option? There's a bunch of them right there. Come on, fish, one of you come eat it. I might have spooked them by losing that one fish. I'm sure I spooked them. But, oh, one's on it right there. Come on. Come on. He's on it. He's looking at it. Come on. No, he didn't want it. Okay. Well, there's another brush pile over here. I can do the same trick on these. See if these guys come and eat it. This glide bait bite is so fun, and this Clutch Eco is great on these lakes that have like 2.5 to 3 pounders versus like having to throw a giant bait. You can see they eat it here, and it's just an alternative. It's kind of like basically a summertime jerk bait. I'm getting that bait right by that brush pile, 40 feet. See if any of them come up and try to get it. Come on. A few of them kind of sitting around this pile. They're looking at it. Didn't really draw out any big ones though, unfortunately. Oh, there they are. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Just come get it. Ah, they're following it. Get it. It's a decent one too. Get it, fish. Man. They pulled them for sure. Just didn't get them to fully commit. I'm gonna try one more cast. This is cool stuff. This is the stuff with forward-facing sonar that's kind of obviously like more of the trending, cutting-edge stuff. There's also a lot of glide baits that are coming out there, pretty inexpensive in the same kind of frame. I mean, this Clutch Eco is not expensive for a glide. It's, you know, less than $100, and it's super durable. So, I mean, I wouldn't even complain about this glide at all. They're available on Tackle Warehouse, readily available, and great bait. Just bummed I lost that fish. That would have been a really cool catch. Man, I can't believe that fish came off on the glide bait. That would have been such a cool fish catch to have on camera. And I'm shocked actually I got a bite on this thing. I think it's probably because the bass out here are feeding on crappie. There's a ton of crappie in this lake. There's not any big gizzard shad, and even the brim aren't that big. So I have a feeling that's what this was imitating. And it is really cool to know that I can get him to bite this bait, because now I'm thinking about all the different ways I can throw it out here, as well as on a bunch of other lakes around the area. So I want to figure out more ways to utilize this glide as well as some other glides, and I might just kind of dedicate some time to figuring that out on normal lakes, not, you know, lakes in Texas that have all these giant bass, but just like a lake that has a lot of 3-pounders in it, you know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. I got the majority of my bites today on that big worm, and I went through actually all of my big worms except for the one I have in my rod right here. So that was a really fun day. Need to restock that. Got them on that Ozark rig, which comes through brush super well. Didn't lose a single Ozark rig all day, which is great. Fishing through all that brush, and just pairing that with a Denali 7'4" heavy power fast action worm and jig rod in the Lithium Pro lineup. Great rod, and I have a 30% discount to this rod down in the description. I was throwing 20-pound fluorocarbon on that with a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. And then for that glide bait, this is that Clutch Eco. I'll link it down in the description. I'm just using a 7'10" extra heavy, moderate action crankbait rod. This is a big Magnum crankbait rod for like a 10XD, but I throw the same rod for this glide bait. 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, 20-pound fluorocarbon. So pretty sweet deal right there. I'm gonna try to get more content with that glide and just other baits. I'm trying to kind of mix it up a little bit more because I do a lot of content kind of catching fish on a worm and a jig and normal stuff. So I want to experiment, and I think catching them on the glide on lakes like this is a lot more fun than catching them on a minnow. So let me know if you kind of like that idea for some content, and I'm going to try to go again to some normal lakes with the glide. So if you like that idea, leave a comment down below. And other than that, thanks for checking out this video. See you on the next one.